You're good? Okay. We're recording.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. It is Thursday, August 5th at 9:02 a.m. and I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Lodging Tax Advisory Board. I'll go ahead and the reason I'm calling it to order is currently we do not have a chair, so that is on the agenda this morning. I will do roll call, and I apologize if it is not in alphabetical order. Joe.
Present.
Chris.
Present.
Kyle. Present. And Eric.
Present. Didn't know it was official.
It is not official yet.
I was wondering that as well. Yeah.
It should be official this evening.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll go ahead and take a look at the agenda and need a motion to approve this agenda.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We do not have any approval of minutes since we have not met in a while. We do not have any old business, and we have quite a few items on the new business. I do need to say that I am just pitch hitting right now for the newly hired tourism and space to create coordinator, and so I will be here today, and then moving forward, we will be here. You all do have a memo from City Manager Tara that explains out a little bit more in detail. So I don't know if you guys wanted to start with reading that and then move into new business, because I think that might be helpful.
That is relevant to new business.
Yeah.
A there. That's the updates from city staff, lodging status. So we may not be able to have a full discussion on that, but yeah, everyone wants to take a moment and do that. Chat about it. Come up with any questions to send it back to Tara's desk. And I'm just taking notes over here. Ronna, can we make sure that everybody, including the new members, have access to this notebook, the Lodging Tax Advisory Board notebook?
Absolutely.
So there's a Office 365 city site.
Teams.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So
Yep.
that's where we keep our minutes. And I was acting as secretary in this previous iteration, so let's continue with that for now.
Okay. And this email that you were just talking about, when did that come over?
It's a memo.
Oh, it's a memo,
Right,
sorry.
Yeah.
I thought you said an email. Okay, got it.
I might have. I apologize.
Okay, no, that's okay. I was like, wait, I looked at all the emails this morning. Okay, cool, thank you.
Interesting.
Yeah, mostly I'd be curious to see how this compares year over year. I know we're down, but how much? And is that like across all hotels? You know, we had talked about impact of the Hilton opening on the other hotels. Honestly, it'd be awesome if we could get like the line item expenditures. I don't know if that's overkill for everybody, but
No, it's not over.
No,
like
not for me. I mean,
yeah.
we spent twice as much money as we have. Where did that money come from and how did it get spent?
right.
Yeah,
And we
I also
know.
have a question, because I didn't,
And we weren't here, so how did that happen?
didn't the lodging tax go up from last year?
It doubled.
It doubled, and we added the Hilton, and yet we're plummeting. I'm very curious about
Yeah.
it, so I think the line item is absolutely warranted.
Eric, what's your last name?
Shepherd.
There's a lot of theories.
Shepard.
Sure, there's always theories, but I think probably there are reasons.
Yeah, and that's what we need to.
Yeah, we need to
Burrow
suss
out.
that out for sure.
Okay, so just for clarification, we would like the year to year.
Yeah, basically, Yeah, the trend, so
And
percentage.
then also, if possible, line item expenditure. Okay, I can ask.
We have seen some of those reports in the past from city finance, so it's like within the funds, here's exactly line by line where the money went out. Yeah, we know Santa Fe Trail Days went over. Don't know exactly the total where it landed. And Tara mentioned when we three met with her that our contract with DIQ was based on forecasts, and we're not meeting that, so we could be overspent on that contract as well.
Yes. Did we have higher numbers for Santa Fe Trail Days?
Like attendance
warrant
wise?
Yeah, to warrant the extra spend. What was the attendance like? Do you know?
I saw this posted somewhere, but I don't know off the top of my head.
Do you know the answer to that, Veronica?
I do not know the answer, like hard numbers.
Right.
I've only heard the feedback from both city and citizens that it was well received and that it was well attended. This was my first Santa Fe Trail Day, so I have no comparison.
Gotcha. Yeah, I love hearing that. I just think that's anecdotal, right? So I'd love to know what.
Yeah, like the actual numbers.
Yeah.
Well, the history with that is the city wanted to do events. That was when Steve was still city manager. Wanted to do events. He had all this idea of doing things, and it wound up the only one they really took over was that, and never actually discussed it with this board. They did it. The staffers, the staff, volunteered, did the stuff, which is fine. They did a fairly decent job. At least the second one, I didn't. I was out of town for the first one.
How many years have we been doing that?
Do it.
How many years? When did this start? When did it start?
Well, with the city, this was the second year. The chamber tried to do some things when we had our centennial or bicentennial or whatever. We did do it because Marty and I managed a registration booth. That would have been 4 years ago. Then we went back to the chamber the next year. So it's never really been handled as a festival until the city wanted to jump in and do it. And at that point in time, the communication between the city and this board was weak at best. Not that we could help make it better, but would have been nice to be involved.
So
But-
Kyle,
That's changing now. So
we would like some actual data from Santa Fe Trail Days.
Yeah, please. I mean, at the very least, there should be somebody keeping track of attendance and whether
Yeah.
increased spends are warranted. What's the
Okay.
return on investment there?
Sure.
Yeah, thanks.
well, I think we were actually promised that at one time.
Promise what?
That information.
Oh, okay.
By whom?
Oh, I don't remember where I was this weekend, much less who. I think it was Marty actually, but I don't know.
Okay, just
So-
because we haven't discussed Santa Fe Trail Days as a board.
Here, no.
Yeah,
It was just a request
okay,
at one time,
at some point.
back before everything blew up.
So if I understand the state of play, we are bound by the budget. Any recommendations we make would have to take into account how much money's been spent already, even though we don't have any real power over it or control over what's been spent previously. This is all city council action that has done that, right?
Not exactly.
This is how it seems right now.
Right, so this fund has kind of been in no man's land for a lot of this year, since this board hasn't been active since it appears February 27th of my last meeting minutes. So decisions made by the board coming into this year certainly affected this funds. But even some of that, things like the contract with Destination IQ, we approved, or we recommended to council that we go ahead and renew with them for 2025. but the actual contract itself was all handled by Marty Hackett. So, I actually can't recall for certain if we like received that contract and were asked, if we would recommend approving that as well or not, or if it just went through.
No, because we were surprised that we gave them more money. And that was not a recommendation that we had.
So, long story short, it's a little bit of a mix. So there were certainly board input on things that made it through, but we haven't been super close to things like management of the firm for about a year now, and a lot of that was due to interpersonal drama. So, Marty, who had been our liaison, would no longer meet with the board. We do the city policy. We no longer are able to have the agency dial into our meetings, so we had no direct interface with the agency themselves. Based on our early discussions with Tara here, she's probably going to be going out to council, which is in this memo here. She's essentially going to be recommending to roll back this ordinance that implemented the lodging board. So this breakdown that you see here, 35% tourism marketing, 20% personnel, etc., that was all written into the city charter to establish this lodging board. That was done by Steve Ruger, the previous city manager. She basically wants to wipe that, give more control back to the board. So instead of being a recommending board where we say, hey council, here's what we recommend, and then it's out of our hands and on the city staff to implement, we would instead be more directly managing these things. So that's what I understood from that conversation. I
Agree.
think you guys would probably agree. So we'll see how that all goes. That we may need to kind of reconfigure, how we're working with the agency and all that with that in mind. So yeah, a lot of this has been city staff kind of running with the budget. I kind of had heard through the grapevine some of that wasn't received very well by new leadership in terms of things like Santa Fe Trail Days going way over budget, etc. So some people at least have eyes on this fund now, whereas it was maybe a bit of a free-for-all for the last year or so.
Yeah, like free money and we can waste it on.
Yeah, well, I was a little concerned about that with the doubling of the tax rate. I mean, it's clear that that individuals at the city saw that as a potential gold mine. And while it is a new revenue stream, obviously we need to be using it wisely. So.
100%.
It was unfortunate, the personality conflict that kind of started really between Marty and an individual. It kind of grew to the point that it felt like the city was trying to bypass the board, and they developed this committee, which was not really legitimate, but they developed a committee that did all of what we were supposed to be doing. They did it themselves. So instead of us making recommendations to the city council for things, it had to go to that city, and they did some of their own things.
Yeah, I guess that was already like this time last summer, right? Because Ruger was leaving in August, and then we had our interim city manager, and they implemented this lodging tax committee internally, which was Cheryl from finance, the interim manager, and Marty. And so yeah, they were kind of handling a lot of the decision making.
But now we have a new group of people with expertise and passion for this.
Well,
and so, yeah.
Yeah, the people we had on the board before had expertise in it in the different areas. It's just, I don't know if they did either. They, as a group, and you're talking about a mob mentality, small mob, didn't trust us or thought they should be able to control the money instead of us. And we weren't trying to control the money. We were just trying to look at it for its value.
Yeah. So I like where you're going with that. I think Chris and I are just providing some context for you guys.
Sure,
But yeah, we got a clean slate, so I don't want to get bogged down in all that.
Same, we have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, totally.
Our clean slate includes a contract that we're obligated to honor through the end of 2025. It includes a doubling of the expenses that we're granted so far. So I don't know how we're going to make that up. So it would be remarkable if we did. That would be great. But we don't really have the ability, if we're taking our responsibilities seriously, to approve any more funding requests at this point, right? So there's very little action we can take in that regard, right?
Yeah, I think that, and I guess we're getting a little beyond the updates kind of portion of the agenda here, but, our focus can and should be around, using the tools we have for things like putting out an actual campaign, a clear focused, like for these 3 months, this is what we're doing to try and attract visitation and getting people into the hotel beds. So that's kind of.
But that'll come from the contract that we have to honor, not from any additional
Yeah, but we
funds,
can
right?
help
Sure.
direct that.
Yeah, and they have.
I mean,
They have tons of resources, and that's part of the intent of having that firm, right? Is, even though we will be more of a working board now, I personally don't have the time and don't expect any of the other board members to be in there like writing copy and that type of thing, And so working together with the agency to put our ideas into action is where we should be able to see some
and
success.
I'm not opposed to doing some of that. I'd be happy to start helping.
And
get some
they're
content.
really, they're subject matter experts in that. It's really just.
Are they though?
Yeah.
They actually are. It's just that they
Well, I know
haven't-
them. I'm in communications.
Good,
That's
so,
what I've done for 30
but
years.
what
So,
is
yeah.
missing is the connection between you guys.
Well, some
right?
direction.
Yeah, they have no direction, so they're just running with what they think. And that's not fair to anybody.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
as far as using them, it's not their fault because they proposed to us this major digital campaign. We were kind of led to believe, or at least I was, that there would be some of the traditional marketing involved in that too, and they literally did nothing with that. We had an agreement with the local radio, and
And Chris, again, they can do that, they just haven't had any direction to do that.
they were asked, and
When were they asked?
through Marty and everything back.
So over a year ago.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
then we.
I mean,
but then we.
So they haven't had any direction.
Yeah, again, let's not worry about what happened in the past. I think we come up with a plan to move forward of how we direct them and how we
So
have
to your point,
Right.
yes,
And that-
we do need to honor that for the rest of the year. And there's a lot of, I feel like, opportunity
I was
for just collaboration with
I was trying to get to a point there with that, even though I backed up. With that in mind, they were writing really, in my opinion, expert opinion, really poor copy, and they weren't managing the local radio. They were stuck with it. Lindsay, in one of our meetings,
Lindsay is our rep at DIQ.
yeah, Lindsay,
Okay, yes.
with DIQ,
I do know her, yes.
she said, "Well, y'all take it over." The board voted for me to manage the radio, and so that we had local radio, but it was not, no influence, nothing from the IQ because they didn't want to have anything to do with it. And they even the spots that we ran with Cumulus in Wichita Falls and Amarillo and Albuquerque and things one year. Would have been a year and a half ago. They wrote a letter to that rep and says, we will not be doing any more advertising with you. Thank you. And that's all it said, which in my opinion was not very professional. But
Because I'm a huge fan of analytics, like that's what I study, and so if there's something that shows that radio is giving us a great return, then I'm all for it. But I think that's what we need to do right now is back up. I started analyzing their ridiculously copious amount of that
The update study?
Yes,
Yeah.
oh my gosh. It's almost like obfuscation by overkill, right? There's so much in there that we really don't care about, right? Like we need to know some base numbers for radio, for digital, for all the different options that we have for media, and then make a decision based on that, right?
yeah, and my experience with, because I have sold radio, bought radio, written copy and everything else for, almost 50 years.
Sure.
And it's one of the things that, digital is so good because now we can tell who's singing and all that stuff. That's great. Except how many of those people that saw it and clicked on it actually went. One of the problems with the standard market radio, television, and all that stuff, it is very hard to analyze it and see what it is. You've got to, you can find ways into major markets.
Yeah, you can create metrics
Yeah,
for
yeah.
figuring out what kind of return you're getting. And so
Yeah.
we'll talk about that and look at it.
Of course, there's a lot of reasons to have local radio besides just tourism side, so.
Yeah, but our mission is probably going to be shifting more directly to tourism than it was under this previous iteration. So Eric, I'll get you a link to this Destination IQ updates deck for review. They update it monthly. In terms of information overload, a lot of that's provided. I actually appreciate it because it's like if you want to delve deep, you can.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that it's proved that they are looking and tracking all that stuff.
Agree.
When they were interfacing directly with the board, we would get an update straight from Lindsay, high level. So basically that slide that she updates each time, it's like, here were our priorities for the month. And then she would run through like quick hits like web traffic up or down, click-through rates on the ads that they're spending money on, etc. So the biggest thing lacking there would be like a conversion rate type of thing. So it's like, that's where we don't have like a clear campaign where it's like, here's the end goal. And so figuring out that last step where it's like, okay, click-through rates all look really good. Like honestly, their rates are sometimes hard to believe good, well into the double digits. In my experience, a good click-through rate is like 5% is like, that's pretty
Absolutely.
freaking
Yeah.
good. And they're at like 10 to 15. So people are clicking on stuff, but
How does that equate to heads
the
and
gap
heads?
is heads and
Yeah.
heads, right? And so that last step tracking is what we need to kind of figure out there. So yeah, they have a deck that runs through what they've been working on, and then all the stats from the digital marketing efforts are in there as well. So yeah, I'll get you a link to that.
Okay, thank you.
Which actually we have on our agenda to run through, so I can.
I was like, let's just go ahead and move down.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Well, so we're obviously past updates from city staff there. We can talk a little more broadly, and I guess, sorry, Veronica, you're running.
No, please go for it.
So onboarding the new members here. This is something we may want to have a special meeting about, especially if and when this ordinance changes again. But board mission, strategy, and process type stuff, I can kind of let you guys know here what we had done back in 2023. We had kind of set a mission and some general goals for kind of 1, 2, 3 years out. Our mission is to improve the quality of life of our residents through tourism. We're responsible for promoting our community as a desirable destination in a sustainable, environmentally responsible, and transparent way. Our goal is to lessen the tax burden on our residents and to create social and economic activities for residents and local businesses. So I kind of see that changing with a lot of the stuff on like quality of life and recreation maybe being pulled out of this. So that's something that we may want to revisit. For the time being though, it's still within our purview. So just kind of putting that out there to chew on a little bit. And then I think we've already kind of talked about process and how that has worked in the past or not worked, right? Worked or not. So some of that may be changing again here. But I think you guys obviously already know what this board is supposed to be doing, and it's essentially spending and growing the lodging fund, which means getting people to visit one way or another and stay, not just visit.
Not just,
Which can't be a tricky thing because a lot of our general strategy has been around kind of short trips. I think that's a sweet spot for Trinidad, is like people from Amarillo, from the Front Range, coming down, spending a weekend, right? And so that's kind of been our core audience, is young adults with families, retirees, people within that kind of 3-hour drive time radius, and getting those folks here. So that can all be up for discussion in terms of target market demographics, but that's kind of where we had honed in on over the past couple of years.
So many people stop here briefly on the way to Santa Fe and back, right? That's, I think, such a key thing of like, why aren't they stopping here overnight or spending a weekend, which would make it so much more fun.
Yeah.
Because we're not giving them a reason to stop and stay.
Well, I think we have reasons to stop,
We have them, but we're not.
but we're not telling them what they
Right.
are. Yeah.
Because I'm new, tell me what you see that as.
I
I want to hear from Kyle, because I'm sorry, you and I talk all the time. I just wanted to hear from Kyle, I'm sorry. And then you can join in, but she was about to say something.
No, thank you. Thanks. And sorry. No, all good. Well, I've been writing about Colorado for 30 years, and I've been to every town in the state. I still write the Voter's Guide to Colorado. I cannot convince them to let me write about Trinidad, because they feel it's not a destination place. So I'm constantly working on that. And what I see is we have the same things that other towns we write about. Creed as the theater, right? So we need to be promoting the theater more. I mean, people travel for specific reasons. They go to a place because they have an idea in their heads about what the experience is going to be like, and we need to present that experience to them. And I think that's not been done. So I think that we have all the same things that other small towns have, but we've gotten this reputation for problems, right? For issues with money and issues with drugs and issues with homelessness that I think are weirdly outweighing the good that we have in an odd way compared to other towns that have exactly the same numbers that we do, right? When you look at the numbers of homelessness issues and drugs issues, it's not like we're exponentially greater than that, but they're doing a better job of letting people know the good things so that that drowns out the noise about the problems that they have, because they all have the same problems. So that's what I see, is really starting to look at how we can cobble together weekends, week-longs of all the different things that we have, but everybody kind of has to work together to make that happen. And I'm seeing that in small parts, like you could bike and kayak, things that sort of bring together multiple entertainment activities and selling that to people as a way to put together a whole weekend rather than just, oh yeah, I'm going to stop, I'm going to go to Sunset Grill on the way down to Santa Fe, I'm not going to, spend the time. So I think that we need to be doing a better job of really pulling together all the disparate activities that we have and making that seem more like a whole, time period's worth of stuff.
We had
I'm glad you brought up Creed. That's another
Oh,
discussion.
it's one of my favorite. John Moore is one of my dearest friends, and so I worked with him at the Post for 15 years, and so I really think we have all these different components. We're just not figuring out a way to make sure that people see them of a piece, rather than, oh yeah, you could stop and do this, go for a gravel bike ride, but then what? Like, what are the other pieces? And when I see the work that DIQ's been doing, that Visit Trinidad does, it's very scattershot, right? We need a more concerted effort to make people understand, because some of us have thought that and have moved here, right? And are living here because we see all these different pieces. So yeah, and also I think that people in town are not telling other people, their friends and family, to come here, right? Why are we not getting buy-in from the town itself? That's very strange to me. It does not feel like a cohesive town. It feels like a town of people who have very specific interests, and that don't come together. You know, when I go to things, I'm like, where are the other, 7,000, 8,000 people in this town? Why are they not here joining in? And I think
Well,
that's a culture thing in many ways.
That is probably a pretty key thing, because if you go further down that road, you think about things like, and this ties back to like the RAD and stuff, and even local business ownership. There are some people who are keen on tourism, and there's plenty of people who are not. And things like Santa Fe Trail Days, right? That's a locals event, and I think it could have broader appeal. But that is a place where you see a bunch of those 7,000, 8,000 folks that you don't see elsewhere. They come out for that type of stuff. And so, yeah, reaching those people also, one way or another, end up kind of being, everyone in town, period, is a liaison for Trinidad, and they will encounter tourists. And if you run into somebody who's just out living their life and you're a tourist and they start telling you how Trinidad sucks, that's a problem.
That's exactly
right?
what I'm talking about.
And so
Yeah.
this also kind of gives Chris a little touchstone on the radio front in terms of the locals, reaching the locals. And that was part of our intent with maintaining some of that, is to be putting out messaging about like, here's why tourism is good and helps the town, here's why you might be interested in tourist activities, like that's part of the whole quality of life thing, is like people like to do stuff, maybe go out and try new experiences, that type of thing. So kind of a roundabout way of just like local buy-in, right? And kind of promoting Trinidad also to people who live here and like experience your town in a new light kind of thing. So yeah, I do think that is maybe an overlooked factor in all this. Yeah.
Excellent. I just think, I'm hearing from people now, there's so many houses for sale here right now, right? And all those people who are leaving, had they just stepped back for a minute and said, like, what could I do to make it better, right? Like, everybody needs to contribute. And exactly what you're saying. Actually, I heard a conversation outside of the library the other day. A guy was visiting from Texas. He stopped another local to ask, like, what it was like to live here. And the stuff that came out of this guy's mouth, I was just like, oh my God, this is the problem, right? He was talking about the crime and, just every negative thing he could possibly come out with. And so I, of course, interjected and was like, but hey, what about, and named, 20 things right off the top of my head that I love here. And the guy was kind of like, okay, well, this is all very interesting. But I think what's happening is that people aren't understanding this cause and effect thing of, if people aren't coming here and talking in positive ways about us, then why would anybody buy your house, right? And people want to buy a house and have an Airbnb. Well, why would anyone come stay there if they have this absolutely negative perception? Of what we're doing here.
Veronica's one of those people that moved here because of the quality of life.
I did, and I can totally relate to what you're saying. This is our 10th month here, moving from Georgetown, Colorado. So even smaller than here, 900 of us over there. And not only is it similar, it's better in that there's more options here. There's so many options. There's something for everyone. Like, if that restaurant isn't for me, maybe it's for Eric. You know what I mean? Like, there's just something for everyone. There's the theater, there's live music, there's so much good, but I also hear what you're saying and have experienced it and have honestly sheltered myself from the negativity. I kind of turn it around, like, well, that's your perception and mine is a little different. So, that's your experience, but there's all these wonderful things. And like bringing people here, right? Like, I've brought at least 25 people to visit and spend the night and eat and spend money. Because my narrative and my perception of Trinidad is that I love it and I want to be here. Yes, the past is the past, and sometimes it sucks for all of us. But like, let's move forward and let's try our best.
It's a great little town. It's creative. Everything. You have an open mind. I mean, July was my 8-year anniversary of living here, and when I retired from a huge tourist attraction in the Panhandle and all that stuff, decided where I wanted to go, Trinidad was on my list of 3 or 4 places to check out. And I got here, and partially because I got involved in the theater, it was SCRT at the time, and different things, and I felt welcome. I never left and didn't try those other places, and then have seen the positivity. And I've heard the negatives from some people, and it's like, folks, do you not realize the quality of life you have here? And more people coming in, and it amazes me that the stuff on Facebook. Facebook should be outlawed. That is because people can say things that other people say, oh wow, I didn't know that. Is that true?
Well, I'm excited to have Veronica out there doing comms work. I think that the city could be doing a much better job of also promoting positive things that are happening. And obviously there's a line to walk there, because you don't want to go out and like put the cart before the horse. Or a great example is like the pickleball courts that are under construction. I hadn't seen any announcement about that. I just went over there and I was like, wow, there's a huge hole in the ground. The city's doing something major. But you don't want people to like mess with equipment or whatever. But yeah, the city can and will be, I think, putting more out there. And so hopefully that also helps turn the tide in terms of the negativity cycle a little bit.
And to your point about just driving through and why aren't they stopping? My husband and I drove through for 27 years. Literally, and every single time I'm like, Trinidad's so cute. We should spend some time there. I knew nothing about the art scene. I knew, like, living in the Denver area, the word doesn't get over there. And if I knew when we lived over there, I would have spent some, weekend or 2 here, because I just flat out didn't know. I didn't even know there was anything on Commercial Street the first time I drove down that. I was like, what? There's a whole other like little sector here. So I think it's really being intentional about our audience and who we want to target. Getting it out there.
So
the radio has been a good avenue to in the radio copy over the last couple of years, trying to improve the reputation of the city staff. I even had a long talk with the city attorney about that, and to see what I could say to encourage people to vote for the increase in the hotel tax. But always including it's the Lodging Tax Advisory Board and the city of Trinidad, again letting people know that these improvements, these things that we have and everything else is coming from the city. I mean, we are part of the city, and I think that's important. It just takes a while to get it through to some people.
So just going back to the agenda here, the only other thing I think we should just discuss real quickly is process. So have you guys been on boards before or things like this? Like, we follow good old Robert's Rules of Order, etc. So if you guys know how that works, that's fine. We can just keep plugging on. But that's probably the biggest other thing process-wise. We come here, we do the whole kind of formal thing we're working through. Also really important to note that we can't meet outside of these meetings. We can send emails to each other, but just like, it can't be a discussion. So I think my email this morning was appropriate, right? It's where it's just like, here's this document, and then just leave it at that. But otherwise, we have to be available to the public. So like, meeting has to be promoted at least 24 hours in advance, publicly posted, etc.
The agenda has just discussing officer roles and responsibilities. Are we going to vote on? I mean, you kind of.
We do need to vote on. I think you guys do need to vote on officers
Today. Yeah.
I was wondering about that though, because we have 4 members. I think we should have a 5th. I guess we could still appoint an officer, but I just didn't know if we wanted to sit on it for a couple of weeks.
Well,
If you guys want to table it to the next time, that's fine.
And also Eric's not official, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So for now it's okay because we could have votes,
You have
but
a
we are going
quorum,
to need a
yeah.
tiebreaker when we have 4.
before we table it, I think if we could appoint, vote on and appoint a chair to continue. I mean, you're basically handling those duties right now. And then when we get a 5th member on, after he's on and we get a 5th member, then we can discuss if we want to have go ahead with a full election with the whole board, or vote. It may stay the same, but I don't think we should wait till it may be 6 months before we get a.
Yeah, it could be a while. I actually didn't see this board in the last city promotion of vacancies, so I do know there's an interested party, Hannah Withers, who is moving here from Fayetteville, Arkansas. She was asking me how to apply, so
Oh, she's been posting on Facebook about asking questions about the town. which is
yeah,
awesome.
she acquired rhinos.
Oh,
That's who that is. Yes,
Okay.
and they're still trying to figure out what the heck to do.
but you
with
can't
it.
serve on here unless you've been a resident for a year, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So she may not be able to yet.
Yeah. Pipeline.
Good point. Yeah. So board officer roles and responsibilities. We need a chair, a vice chair, a secretary. I really think, especially if we're going to be getting a lot more hands-on, that we should have a treasurer as well, who's just tracking the budget very directly. So that's a job for everybody at that point. Someone could hold multiple, I suppose. Secretary is essentially just keeping the minutes during the meeting, so anybody could be doing that. So yeah, I mean, I'm open to being the chair. I am concerned about my own bandwidth. I'm stretched pretty thin. So that is the
Can
main.
we detail out like what the chair and like the secretary's roles, what exactly are their responsibilities?
Yeah, I mean, so the chair runs the meeting. I also expect there'll be an increased need for them to be meeting outside of the board with Tara, with any other city parties, with the agency or other people that might be contracted, and then bringing that information back to the board. So
Also in charge of the agenda.
yeah, sets the agenda. Those are kind of the biggest things. Vice chair fills all those duties when the chair is not available. And then secretary, already mentioned, keeps the minutes here in our notebook, which I don't think is directly available to the public, but it's available to city staff. And then, yeah, the treasurer would track the budget in a spreadsheet, probably also on city infrastructure. Yeah, at least uploading that somewhere we can all see it.
Do we just want to marinate on that for a little bit and then return to that at the next meeting?
Yeah, I mean, I could, I just whipped this agenda up kind of on the spot when I was pushing for this meeting to get set. So if you guys want, I can act as interim chair. We can vote on that, and I could continue to do the agendas for the time being.
I would be happy with that. Yeah.
And then we can go ahead and at a later meeting have a formal vote for the officers.
I don't get a
in your
vote,
seat.
but yes.
So I guess I just need a motion.
Yeah, we would need a motion.
I make a motion that we appoint Joe interim chair and then look at all the other offices when we're fully staffed.
Or in 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Second.
Okay. All in
All in
Any
favor?
other choices?
Well, I mean, I'm open to anybody else doing it too, like I said.
No, I mean,
Well,
we had a first,
Yes.
and there's
Yeah,
the second.
right,
You
yeah.
can't vote on yourself. So.
You're stuck with it.
it's obvious. I mean, you got the knowledge, and you were almost the chair last time, weren't you, vice chair?
No, Jason.
Oh,
I've just been secretary.
you may have to be secretary too. So.
I just don't want to be treasurer. I hate spreadsheets, but I'll do whatever else is needed. It's
Cool.
fine.
Yeah. Also, I will be termed next May. Obviously, we would potentially just go re-up with council, but worth noting as we appoint officers, that's less than a year.
Yeah, but that won't be an issue. So.
Yeah, unless I decide I've had
As long as
enough.
you behave, as long as you behave and stay off Facebook. So.
You know, I live on Facebook.
Oh, I know. I'm just, you know what I'm talking about.
Okay, so I'll be acting as interim chair for the time being. That brings us on to the DIQ updates deck. If everyone's good with moving on from officer roles, I can give me one moment. I'll pull that up here and jack us into the screen, and we can run through it.
For you.
Is it wireless or?
It is. No, he needs to plug it in.
Okay.
When are auditions for
Dracula?
Dracula?
We don't have a date set, but it's going to be the beginning of September.
Not that I'm auditioning, but
Just in a few weeks.
You're not? Oh, I thought you wanted to be Lucy or Mina. I was just sure of it.
really, I'm working on whitening my teeth.
Sharpening them, file them.
Found some of that that stuff for old people that keeps you from looking like old grandpa.
Well, for most of us, teeth is a part of the picture. This
Yeah.
gray that I'm developing, is.
I have a Halloween deal I post on Facebook
Uh-huh.
for my deal with vampire teeth.
Oh, really? Okay. Did you Photoshop that? Or plastic teeth?
No, it just happens on Halloween.
The moon is full.
What script are we using on that?
I'm developing one.
You're developing one?
Yes.
You don't expect to get paid as an author to...
Oh, of course, yeah. Thousands, that lucrative contract that we always
Yeah.
sign. Yeah. No, I do not.
Yeah, Eric is truly a starving artist. Came to Trinidad, Colorado to make his fortune.
Yes. And here's where I make my stand.
All right, so looks like they've just started populating the next update for August 13th, but there's not much in here yet since that's not till next week.
While you're populating, one thing I'd like us to consider, and I realize I'm out of place on this, a new logo.
Well, we talked about that in the early days of the previous board iteration and decided to stick with this one. That was when Anissa was still working for the city and she had workshopped a bunch of other logos. I actually like this identity and think that we could lean into it further, but we can talk about that at a future meeting for sure, as part of our overall strategy.
I was gonna say, I don't get it. I don't get this logo, but
Yeah, it doesn't tell me anything, so...
Guys,
I like the
I can go
colors.
back and give you the tapes of all the meetings they had.
oh geez.
They brought some people from Bolden, they had numerous public meetings and input.
On that?
When they did this one.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That definitely, I think, was primary focus was probably the arts scene at the time.
Should I have seen, is
Yeah.
it supposed to be like a piece of architecture? Is it like a,
Like a column?
yeah, or
Yeah,
at the top
that's
of a column?
yeah.
Okay.
But I don't know.
I wouldn't even really.
Could be a grill of the
Yeah,
color.
I mean, I feel like you'd have to know that we have the Victorian heritage in order to really get that, right?
One of the nice ones that Anissa had done, never was presented, was an outline of Fisher's Peak, and then it just simply said Trinidad Tourism. And it just inside the
Joe's
outline.
not allowed to have any opinions on Fisher's Peak, but. Just kidding.
Because I am a seasonal staffer. Mostly, I
Also, I
think.
feel your mad love for it. You have so much, every time you post something, I'm like,
Oh, it's so amazing out
it is, it truly is. No, I agree. But I also agree that it's so iconic and
Yeah.
like it is what the one thing people seem to
Well,
agree
it's
is
the
like,
Eiffel Tower of Southern Colorado.
people, yeah, know what it is, right? That like they've heard of it or seen it, and yeah.
Well, let's not go too far down this rabbit hole.
No,
no.
Put it at another meeting. We're at 9:52 here,
Yeah.
and our meetings historically have tended to go long.
Okay.
So we can tighten that up for sure, but that just means we have to stick to our agenda
Okay.
and keep moving. So,
All right, let's do it.
yeah, speaking of the park, I'm currently not getting paid, so I can be here. So,
Yeah.
so anyway, looks like they're talking about hiring a local photographer. I don't know what the heck is going on, like with the photography and videography stuff. We paid Jeff Montoya like a few grand to produce a ton of awesome content that they have used none of. There are a couple of photos on the Visit Trinidad website that they put up from his collection, but otherwise they're not using it for anything. He's come to me several times to be like, what's going on? None of my stuff is out there. It's great content. So
I know I'm just bitch hitting, but I have a question.
yeah, go ahead.
Where is that?
Great question.
Oh, okay.
The agency has it for certain. So they have all his content. The city should have it somewhere too, because the city hired him, not DIQ, is what I think. I don't know the for a fact though.
And the city owns
Maybe in
that
Harden's
too?
files.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's worth checking though, but I believe that we instructed the city to hire him, that was our contract and not through the agency, but then we provided it to the agency. He has started putting out some of the B-roll just like with the people he filmed with. So like he went out with Fish with the Outfitters and he went out with the Kayak Company, and so they're doing that as their own self-promo, and that if that's all the cut content, what he has is actually going to be super good. So this is like kind of top of mind for me with DIQ is the social media stuff. I'm really not super happy with the gal they have working right now. They were excited to tell us about this time last summer that she was coming on because it was going to save us about $8,000, I think. And apparently that translates to lower quality work. So
So do they decide on their own who they're going to contract with to do the photography and the videography? Do we have input into that?
I mean, as it stands, I don't honestly know because we haven't been talking to them directly for like a year plus.
Okay. I'm looking at Muddy Wellies. They have lovely photography, but they have nothing on here that speaks tourism. They do a lot of weddings and portraits.
When do we get to talk directly with Destination IQ?
Right. So this is something that's a city question, and actually we need this as an action item because sometime during the interim city manager, they decided that there would be no dial-in allowed for these meetings at all for any city boards or official city business. For me, that's problematic because I occasionally need to call into these meetings and I can still
Same.
attend.
Yeah.
So we should have a remote link for board members. I do not like that policy at all, and I don't really understand
I was
it.
gonna say, what was the reason given
I don't
for
know.
why?
Yeah.
Well, they had a council meeting, and somebody actually got in and started saying some vulgar things and killing babies and and stuff, and they shut it off.
Yeah, just
you
turn
can
it
just
up.
Shut it. Yeah.
That comes with the territory, and it wouldn't apply to boards anyway. So that is part of why they were no longer able to call in because there was no dial-in option. But then the other factor was just this whole multi-layered abstraction of the board's involvement with the management of the firm for various reasons, namely being personality problems. So hopefully, I reached out to Brian and Lindsay, as you guys might have seen on that thread that I forwarded, and then they linked the city back in. So hopefully that kind of starts this discussion. From what Tara said, again, sounds like she expects us to be more hands-on. So Brian from DIQ offered immediately to come down in person. So there's potential we could get him at our next meeting.
Great.
He even said maybe today, but he emailed me yesterday about that, so that was kind of super last minute to try and organize. Also, I don't think we're really ready for that because
Yeah, I
we're
think
all
maybe next time or even
we're all
next
spinning
time.
up. I said maybe first meeting in September.
Yeah.
So I just floated that out there. But that way we'll have at least a couple meetings under our belt. I'm going to encourage everybody, including our standing members, to go back, review as much of this deck as you can stomach, and then the current Visit Trinidad website and social media to see what's out there in the wild. So let's all take a deep dive into that stuff so we can be informed when we do meet with the agency. And I would honestly be really curious to hear how they're feeling about this as well. Brian strikes me as a really sharp guy, and a lot of their data is good and encouraging. So it's kind of like execution that has been maybe lacking, I guess. But like the Visit Trinidad website honestly looks really nice right now. It could use some content updates and like maybe more frequent new content. But they did a quick refresh on it for us, and I thought they did a great job. Like a facelift on the design.
When was that, sorry?
Oh, when did that launch? Last summer or
Okay.
last spring?
So it's not since I've been around, because I worked
yeah.
with the site for our purposes.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Yeah. Prior to that, the design was not as nice looking or as easy to navigate. I thought they did a really nice job on that, especially for kind of a quick, like using the existing bones, you know. I think it's a WordPress site, but I don't know for certain.
It looks like.
It looks like one, yeah.
And it's hosted on DIQ's infrastructure. So that's an extra wrinkle to know. We had a major fire, not literal fire, but you know, fire alarms going off last year. The website was down for literal weeks. And so we were like, what the hell is going on? Marty was just struggling working with our existing host for some reason, could not get it restored, and so DIQ stepped in and moved it over to their stuff in the end, and that's
So
almost
it redirects, and yeah, so does Marty's email. I still send things to Marty, and Lindsay picks it up.
oh, I gotcha.
Yeah, and I haven't done it since Marty retired, so because I've just got months ahead on posting stuff. I don't know if that still works or not.
Gotcha. So stuff like the calendar.
Yes.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah. So at least they're paying attention to that still. That's great to
Their
hear.
calendar is impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, it is very comprehensive of the city of Trinidad, which is hard to do.
Yeah. Yeah, so that is some of the stuff we've asked them to help with. Also, just for context, in terms of DIQ, one of the main reasons we chose them, the other finalist was Cone, was because they had an advertised grant writing experience specifically. So the only one that I think we've had them go out and do was a marketing grant from the Colorado Tourism Office that was for the website. So they are, the big project for DIQ is a whole brand new Visit Trinidad website. Whether or not we really need that is up for debate, but we have the grant money in hand. So, and it's already,
So why
and it's
not?
in
But also, would
process.
that pay for a new host? I mean, we shouldn't have our marketing team.
I agree, we're also almost guaranteed to be overpaying for their hosting versus having our own and having city control over that, or board control, as the case may be eventually. So the biggest hang up is making sure there is that continuity. So like when there's an outage, it's not like we don't know what's going on. Or another great example is when DIQ started, they had to start a whole new Instagram page because no one had the keys to the old one. So this is city dysfunction, but hopefully we can have a board process in place in tandem with the city to ensure that type of thing does not occur moving forward.
So who does run that now? I mean, with two-factor authentication, there have to be two places where.
The
Someone
social
can
media
get in.
accounts?
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know. Do you know about the Visit Trinidad Facebook?
They
Yeah, I know they're posting it,
Mhm.
yeah, but in terms of access controls, I'm not certain, because someone would have had to have granted that to
So does DIQ run our Facebook and our Instagram?
Yeah, that's.
The
what I
Visit
wanted to know.
Trinidad.
Visit
Visit
Trinidad.
Trinidad runs.
which is not the
those.
city.
Sorry,
Facebook, yeah.
but DIQ.
Yes.
Okay, so they run that as whatever social media we've got.
That's correct.
All right.
Yeah.
Next.
Just the Visit
Account.
Trinidad, not the city of Trinidad,
Yeah.
so it's a little tricky.
So DIQ sends all of the
Yes.
social media
Sorry, yeah.
assets that they have to Visit Trinidad and to the city of Trinidad to post internally from there.
No, they have direct access.
DIQ has direct access, so
Yeah.
they're admins on the.
Yes,
accounts.
that's correct.
Gotcha.
And then
just the Visit Trinidad, not the city.
Not the city
Right.
of Trinidad.
Yep.
Thank you
Yeah.
for that clarification.
Yeah, you kept interjecting the city and then was like, okay, now I got it.
Yeah,
Yes,
so-
yeah, because that wasn't what I was asking about. They run their own
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
And we can talk about that too, but that's not our ball of wax.
so we should make sure we'll get the whole board on this. Veronica, I think you are currently the city's contact for this agency stuff.
Correct, for
While-
another week.
Until Victor's coming on. So this is what they're using for social media approval and review. There's this web app called
Oh,
Airtable.
gotcha, yeah.
Which I had never used before, but it's relatively straightforward. So anyway, this stuff's already all queued up. You can see we've got August posts in here. They have them like sorted by topic and subtopic. So you can see all these posts. So we can request from DIQ that the board at large has access to this.
Something I think that, I know I'm just pitching it for another week, but it's worth, I'm just gonna say it. We never, like, put out there that we have, car chargers. Like the electric car chargers. I think that maybe that might be worth like a, hey, did you know that when you stop, you can, they're over there at the Hilton, you can then walk
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah, it's something that we could use in a campaign.
Somehow.
So anyway, right now this is where everything's getting queued up. We can go in and offer some comments. Many of my comments have been ignored, so that's something else. If the current coordinator, her name is Ashley, if she isn't asking me directly for input, she basically ignores my remarks. So that's a broader discussion on social media
Yeah,
and the
seriously,
board
that should
involvement and
change.
direction, especially because I've heard a lot of feedback from locals around this, largely negative. But I also have pushback on some of that because, and this applies to the tourism vision at large, our locals are really close to everything, like really, really close. And I think it's important to keep reminding them to like, look from way up here if you didn't know anything about Trinidad and you're getting the initial messaging, like what would you want to be seeing? And also, like every single message we put out doesn't need to address the full list of Trinidad tourism amenities. So it's like
But there needs to be a good mix.
a good mix,
Yeah.
for sure, without a doubt.
Back to what we were talking about, there needs to be a more cohesive plan that does bring everybody into it, but doesn't mention them every single time. Yeah.
So
Okay,
I
so
don't know.
we're allowed to go in here and make comments.
Well, I was invited when she had like specific things that were bike related. She was just like, "Can you help me with this?" And now I just have access. So, so I've gone through to offer my 2 cents on some stuff.
Yeah.
I will, or when we meet with Brian, maybe we can say, "Hey, can we get board access to this at large? We want to have some input." And I think that's important because they do occasionally get things wrong, or we just have to make sure we decide like who is the final approval person to check it approved so it can go out the door. There was like a whole month almost this last month where they had not a single post. So things were in here queued up, waiting on approval or
That's
something.
my fault.
Well, and it's some of that's like handoff.
Right,
problems,
I was
and
like, wait,
I
this
get it.
exists? I didn't
Yeah,
even know this
totally.
existed, yeah.
So that means, for example, they had a really, actually a pretty decent video that went out last week that was like, perfect summer day in Trinidad, like here's the things to do, and number one was like go to a Triggers game, and the season was over when they posted it. So
Perfect.
that's the kind of stuff that we should be catching in here before it ever goes out. We all know this, but just getting this process in place so there's review, they actually listen to our review, etc.
Well, and to get that wrong, I mean, if that's their responsibility, that information is readily available.
Right.
Yeah.
They actually put it on their calendar. Yeah.
Right.
And also when they do get coverage, for instance, 3 Westward articles in a row, posting those.
Right.
Like, I am shocked at how none of the stuff I wrote, purposely trying to get tourists to come here,
Yeah.
was it was
so-
like it didn't even exist.
That's my problem with this. Part of my problem with this social media manager is like, she's just glued to her basic cue. Like, she comes here and shoots for a week, and it's like, that's what I'm putting out there, and she's just not paying attention at all otherwise. And so maybe that's a broader discussion on DIQ, where it's like,
Yes.
you guys aren't actually like looking at what's going on in town.
Yeah, pay attention.
But that's also a lack of input from our side, and so that's where the board needs to be
Right.
coming in, because
Yes, and I've met with them once in this transition, and I specifically brought up those and sent them the links.
Thank you.
And so that is a little disappointing.
still didn't make it up.
Yeah.
What I'd love to do down the line, just to put this in your heads, is host a free class on SEO and make people understand how not posting for a month actually affected how many people could find the website, right? Like, all of that is so integrated. The Google spiders care about relevance, right? So when you post on social media, even though you're not posting on Google per se, the Google algorithms are paying attention to that and then increasing your search engine results pages exponentially because you have increased your relevance, right? All of that is so integrated. And I was just crushed at writing these articles and not having them out, because I was like, first of all, it's good for Westward, right? But also, it would have, the exponential increase in people paying attention to us because Google started paying attention to us is, you cannot ignore that. I mean, Google owns everything, so you gotta bow to the.
Why do you
Google
think
gods.
that happened or didn't happen?
I don't know, because I posted all over the place. I sent it to people, like Joe paid attention to it, like people who were in it, some people who were in it. But what I wanted to say was, like, I met with Nicole over at Coley's. I was like, you gotta put this on your own page. Like, this will, because Google will read it as Westward thought you were relevant, then other people who reposted it thought you were relevant, and that just, it's like the.
So that's what you're talking about, the education class.
Yeah, I want people to understand how this is all very much enmeshed, right? It all matters to Google, and not posting for a month probably cost you thousands of clicks because you lost your relevance. Like, Google downgraded you. I mean, the people at Google spend their whole day looking at, and obviously not people, it's a system of algorithms, but those algorithms are constantly crawling all over the web to find out what is important to people, right? What are people clicking on? What are they paying attention to? And so when you cross-post, you increase Google's attention immediately. I mean, it just, like, they all of a sudden are like, oh wait, people are paying attention to this, we need to give them, I mean, it's almost like a point system. They give you more points, and then they put you up in the stack if somebody types in, where should I visit in southern Colorado? Or where should I go in Colorado? If Google has seen that your relevance has increased, they will move you up in that search result. It's a really awesome correlation, but it's why, like, it felt like I was spitting into the wind by doing those articles, because then I was like, you guys, you need to repost this. You need to be telling people that this is important to you.
Well, one thing we do want to keep in mind, especially if we're looking at scaling back this contract due to budget constraints, is billable hours. Because if we are like, hey, here's some extra stuff to do, they're going to charge us an hour or two to go reshare and post.
Sure, I get that.
But this is where our new tourism internal person could be helping out as well. They'll have access to these accounts. Simple things like resharing a Westward article, city staff can do easily. And, they might be getting paid out of this fund potentially too. So, so yeah, that is, we can supplement. And so that overall strategy is something we'll have to all work together on, I think, where maybe a lot of the content production is from the agency. If it's tied into our overall campaign efforts for that quarter, it's coming from them. But if it's like on the ground, like event footage live from Santa Fe Trail Days or whatever, city could be handling
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if these guys can create camera-ready posts then, and it should be constant, right? There should be like a constant flow. So if they can create camera ready posts, then yeah, whoever's handling it.
Well, this kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier. I mean, they're apparently driving the bus, right? You know, and doing all the maintenance on it, and we're not participating in it. And we talked earlier about coming up with something cohesive to promote Trinidad tourism, and if they were our partners rather than just
And
a
I honestly
hired gun.
feel like
yeah.
we just haven't had a platform for those discussions
Right.
to happen. I feel like they're very open to it. You all are obviously very open to it.
Yeah.
I think we just need to make it happen.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, I put a couple notes here: social media process, approvals, direction, resharing, etc. I
And
know.
then maybe asking Brian to come on the first meeting in September, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to hear what he has
That
to say,
is
and I
going to
really want
be,
him
I
to
think,
hear
on
what
our
he
Yeah,
has to
next,
say.
right.
next
I
agenda
think
item
he
here,
wants
which
to,
is.
Brian.
Yeah. Just have to have something coherent to say.
Does DIQ invite media to come visit, and do we put money into
Yeah, so I think that's a broader discussion to have with them too, is just media and pitching.
Yeah.
You know, you and I have talked about that briefly in terms of you have never seen a pitch from them as a writer. So yeah, pitching and resharing, just media strategy overall there,
Yeah.
and getting that coverage.
I cannot overstate the value of having people come here and do things for free because they love to do that, and then they will write about it. I mean, media people are,
fan tours and
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, it's still a thing. Like, people have backed away from it, but I really believe because of social media, because of all the flow after an article runs, that if it's not used, it's such a sad waste. But if we get on a regular cadence of, we invite people here, Joe takes them biking, they go see a play, they hear about us on the radio, all the things. But all of those things, just, they add up, and they add up to more than the sum of their parts because of social media, because of those algorithms. So I really just think that's such an easy thing to do, right? Bring people here, show them a good time. And I actually first found Trinidad because Reno's invited me down for the because we had a place up in Denver called Mike Berardi's, which was like an old school. I don't know if you were in Denver at that time, but they were like one of the like countrywide famous singing waiters places. And they invited me down here, and I was like, oh my gosh! And then I kept coming back, I kept visiting, and then obviously 4 years go by. But I do think that's really valuable, and they will do it. People will come if you invite them, but you gotta invite them, and then have a plan for showing them a good time.
So yeah, I think we're discussing both of these agenda items at the same time, which is totally okay because they're interlinked, and so that's reviewing their updates, and it's just DIQ broadly.
Yes.
So I'm just trying to organize my notes together.
Thank you. No, this is great that you're taking these notes too.
So anyway, going back to the update deck, like I said, we should all dig into this on our own, but what they currently have going, it looks like we've got some year-over-year stats here. Like I said, a lot of their digital stats are actually really good. We're seeing growth on website visitors, almost 19% year-over-year. Organic search growth of 25%, paid socials up. So I mean, that's what you want to be seeing in general in terms of visitation and traffic.
I agree, but the numbers themselves are not great.
Not super high.
No. Those should be higher. So I do agree, the growth is lovely, but I think the percentages kind of pull you away from the fact that those numbers are kind of abysmal. Like, they're just not where they should be.
I'd be curious to see that compared to other towns, and they do manage other accounts that are very comparable. I believe they have Spanish Peaks Country. So, I mean, that's a pretty
Wait,
direct.
where else do they manage?
I think they have Spanish Peaks Country, which is like a direct,
Okay.
and maybe Canyon City too, because I've seen some posts
Do they
in our
have the-
account accidentally from Canyon City.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, which is also not great, but
They're in
stuff
Salida,
happens.
right? Do they have their own town?
I don't know if they do Salida or not, but that is where they're kind of based out of.
Right. That would be interesting to know. Or even the small towns around it, right? Like Poncha Springs or Westcliff. Like, who else?
Wow, yeah, that'd be a lot smaller.
Right, but
Yeah,
still, I'd be interested to know, because I feel like we were talking about with Cree, there are small towns that get a lot of attention outside of the state. Why is that? How is that? How do we make that happen? Right?
I have theories about that.
Okay, we hear those theories, so for sure,
yeah.
please share, because
Yeah, so good question for our meeting with them. And that may need to be a special meeting. I foresee that being
Just for
a
that.
long discussion. Yeah. So yeah, just keeping that directly with DIQ and us. But yeah, how do our digital stats compare to other small towns, whether managed by them or not, I guess. So yeah, basically like, is this, 7,000 visitors? Is that good or bad for a tourism site like this? Yeah.
yeah, I definitely want to know. I think some of it has to do with the residents. I don't know if you guys know who Pam Houston is, but she's kind of a famous writer. She lives in Crete, and she drives a lot. Like, she's very well known. She's written a ton of outdoorsy books, and people love her, and they go there because of her. And so I think that there's some of that in some of those towns, that residents themselves drive interest because people know who they are, and thereby, she Instagrams, she has hundreds of thousands of followers in Instagrams about her life in Crete all the time.
Can you get famous so that we
Yeah.
can piggyback on you?
He's already.
Oh, he is? Okay. all right.
We need famous people.
So I asked if you could get famous for us. So.
Yeah, I'm trying to get unfamous. That's the reason I let
Yeah.
down
Not notorious, famous.
Not infamous.
Not infamous, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of like the high level stuff they pulled out. You can dig further in on each of these individual reports. Always interested in the keywords and individual pages that are seeing the most traffic. So like they called out top pages, homepage, obviously events calendar, and then the Ludlow Massacre is our third.
Always up there.
So that's interesting. Kind of a weird thing to lean into tourism-wise, but powerful and potentially all the more relevant touchstone for us. I know another one that I've seen numerous times as a top keyword is Trinidad Lake. So people are searching for that. So those are things we want to keep in mind as we're designing our campaigns, because there's already interest to build on there. So yeah, this top one in the data report, that's the overall website. They do have conversions in here, but I think that's probably like downloading the visitor guide booklet is maybe the only conversion thing we track. One thing I've requested in the past is a Visit Trinidad newsletter. At the time they were like, yeah, we can do that. I don't think it ever happened though. I think maybe Marty did like one that was more like internal, like city, but I'm talking about you come to the Visit Trinidad website, or we have your email address for one reason or another, marketing out to that list regularly,
Yeah,
at least quarterly.
It says,
Yeah.
hey, join, yeah.
So just keeping us in front of people.
Yeah, which could be driven by like discounts on local food or getting a rental bike or whatever. Those do really well.
Yep. Here's worth noting, the next most popular after events in Ludlow is outdoor rec. And so just a little side knowledge here, our Trinidad Trails Alliance director, Jennifer Green, had met with Tara yesterday, and Jared Chatterley, who's the outdoor rec folks for the city, or person for the city. And I guess Tara maybe made some remarks to the effect of like, trails don't get heads in beds. And here's just some direct evidence of like, people who want to visit Trinidad are looking at the outdoor rec amenities. So this is something that we're going to need to keep in mind. For me, obviously, I think it's an absolutely top 3 thing to be promoting here without a doubt.
Could you explain that comment? You said second most popular and then looking.
So top pages overview right here.
Right.
So you have visit the homepage and then about. I'm kind of just counting those as I'm lumping them together.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the Ludlow Massacre and events. So we had already seen those as these top pages: home, events, Ludlow. So basically, the next category that people are looking at that is most popular would be outdoor rec,
Okay.
because that is the number 5 page by
Yes.
visits
Yeah.
here.
See, I disagree about the trails don't put heads in beds, but.
Well, there's plenty of data from the state for that too that we can present a case for.
Excellent.
Um,
Well, you know, I
Well,
love the
certainly
data.
if you're taking it as an aggregate, right?
mhm.
And I don't know if that burrows down that far or not.
Right.
So you stay in a hotel and you go all the trails. You go
Mhm.
Fisher Peak on one day.
That is the
Yes.
question is.
Yeah.
That's the combining things
That
that
is the
I'm
combining-
talking
yes,
about.
yeah.
Yes.
So instead of just, you're like, I'm on my way to Santa Fe, I'm going to jump off and take a quick hike, versus staying here to do
Finding
the
out
things.
all the things.
Yeah, you're not doing that with
are
Fisher's
clear.
Peak.
Right. So yeah, there's more data to dive into here. And just to go back to your comment about the overall totals, I mean, keep in mind we're starting from ground zero, and so growth is maybe a more important metric at this time versus overall. Obviously, we want to know how we're stacking up, but when we're starting from almost nothing, as long as the growth numbers are going.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I agree. We don't want it to go in the opposite direction,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
Not that I wouldn't trust, those facts and figures, but is there a way to audit it too? That we know.
So it would be nice if we had, I mean, this dashboard is populating directly from Google Analytics. Maybe there's some way they could fudge those numbers, but I don't.
Very difficult.
Yeah, they are just pulling, like
Yeah.
this Looker Studio app they're using for this.
Yeah.
All they do is link the accounts. So this is coming straight out of Google Analytics, which is what tracks everything.
Which means they're not cherry picking.
Yeah, they're not fudging it. This is just, these
Well,
are
I mean,
the
you
numbers.
can cherry pick and not fudge.
Yeah.
You can cherry
True,
pick
yeah.
for sure.
Well,
Yes.
it's like with the old style advertising, traditional, Arbitron was a big one and Nielsen for TV, radio. But you can take those numbers and present them in a much more positive manner than they really are.
Yeah, we're number 1 in drive time. Is the big one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember
Well-
drive time with ladies over 65.
Right.
But
In a school zone.
we're still
That's why it's important for us to be actually looking at this dashboard ourselves,
Yeah, because like the CTR on that last one went down, right? So I agree. Like, I don't think you can fudge the numbers, but I think you can choose to present
Yes.
what you want to present, for sure. Yeah.
Oh, that didn't look good. Take that graph off.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
So, we obviously don't have time to go through all of that stuff. They have their social media reporting in here as well. I think that this would be Ashley, the social media coordinator, who's pulling this together at this point. This one's just mostly screenshots out of the native software. So, but at least seeing
I'm sorry, remind me, when did they start? When did we hire DIQ?
end of 2023. And so that's in this contract that I forwarded to everybody. And it does also mention that we can renegotiate. That's the wrong one. We can renegotiate, like, if budget changes and stuff. That's like pretty much towards the top here. So yeah, $5,000 a month is their basic retainer. They have additional money beyond that for like media spend and whatnot.
And then does that get us a certain number of billable hours that they bill against that 5,000? And is there an accounting of that somewhere?
Yeah, there should be.
It's a good question.
There is in here an accounting overview in the updates deck as well. So here's the full breakdown. So this is what the retainer would include. And then there's add-ons beyond that. So this should probably answer most of your budget questions in terms of what DIQ is doing. So yeah, everyone dive into this.
Yeah.
The last thing we'll talk about on here, and then we can probably start wrapping up, is just current projects. It looks like they have. We do have a couple of print ads out there. So one would be this Albuquerque Magazine ad. So it looks like they went to a full page ad there. This fella, Aaron Hagen, came out and did a spring photo shoot. I think I remember when that happened, but Marty was still coordinating at that point. So there's some pictures from that. Don't know how any of them turned out, but new photos. Hopefully they actually are going to use them. But feel free to take a gander at those.
So, who owns that content, by the way?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Okay.
In this case, it would be more questionable because it appears that this was all contracted out by DIQ. But yeah, like I said, this was something the board had no direct involvement in at all. I was only even made aware of it because Marty needed volunteers to go out and be people in photos doing
Yes.
activities. So
That's what I remember about
yeah.
it.
Mhm. So that's really all I knew about it.
Now I remember that.
Yeah, I don't think it ever really hit our board except potentially something like this where it's just mentioned in the update deck. So, website updates, yeah. So confirmed WordPress here. So, this looks like it might be a draft of the new.
Yeah, they're
Site.
drafting it right now.
So everyone also please review this and see how you feel about their overall direction so far.
So the trio is history, arts and culture,
Outdoor rec.
and outdoor rec.
That's the Trinidad. See what they're doing there.
I see what they're doing there.
Yeah.
This photo is not from Trinidad.
I don't think it's helpful, actually. Maybe it's just
Yeah, where was
placeholder.
that photo that I picked up that you told me wasn't even in Trinidad that I was going to use in Westford?
That was on the current gravel page.
Yeah, how do we get that fixed?
By talking to DIQ.
Yeah,
Oh my
I would
gosh,
say
that's-
that the Ludlow Massacre is not what we need to lead with history.
Well, but
I
it's
said the
Well,
exact
except
same thing.
that SEO wise,
Yeah, but
is.
it-
Like,
this
it's
is-
how, this is the
I said the
game.
exact same thing to them. I said the exact same thing because I looked this over the one time that I met with them.
Yes.
I said, when do we get city folks in front of this for feedback? And they said, we're still working on it. Once it's ready for your guys' feedback, we'll let you know. And the picture, this is very much a draft.
Great.
so they also at one
We have
point
lots of feedback.
at one point they had a Word doc of all the content and like an outline of the navigation. And shit hit the fan with the board before we were ever really able to provide input on that, and it was not clear if like we should be going in and directly giving remarks or not within that document.
I
So
hate the trio of adventure. I
Yeah,
hate
me
it.
too.
I hate it so much.
Yeah, I don't like the picture.
First of all, why is it adventure and then we talk about arts and culture? Why use the word adventure? I think that's a mistake. Even though I'm
Well, and is
very
trio
adventure
limiting
forward.
us, right? Is it limiting?
Yeah,
Trio? I think it
yeah.
is limiting.
Yeah.
Well,
but also
it's
when you
supposed to be a
read,
play on our
yeah,
name,
it's a
but
play
it-
on Trinidad.
But it's
yeah.
not.
Right.
I mean, there's so many things. I mean, just because, and I'll talk about this later, the Colorado Creative Industries Conference in 2026 is going to be here.
Yes.
And so we're trying to come up with a theme. And I mean, what about Trinidad, the first in Colorado? Because we're the first. We're the first school district. We're the first with 2 state parks. We're the first in a lot of things. Or somebody else said,
we are like the first coast of Florida.
Also, it's the first place you hit when you got up.
right, so it's like
Yes.
literal and right, and a lot of other first. And then also somebody else said the Victorian jewel of the Southwest.
Yes. Yeah.
Which I kind of like the combination of like
Yeah.
the Southwest kind of artsy stuff and all of the Victorian. Anyway.
But trio of
so
adventure
this
makes
is-
it sound like you're about to find out about 3 outdoor things you can
And that's all you can do.
And that's,
all we are.
yeah.
See, I think of adventure more broadly than you, perhaps,
I
because
don't think so because I work for First Ascents, which is an adventure nonprofit. Right?
Yeah.
I love adventure. But I think when you think of that word, you think of outdoors. You do not think of history and culture or architecture or history or any of those other things. But
It's,
I'm sorry,
it's the way it's phrased, right?
Well, and even
You
just,
know.
let's just keep adventure out of it. The
Yeah.
trio is to me very limiting.
Well, I don't like the picture, I don't like the
Well,
typeface, I don't like the color.
Joe,
I just keep
Joe,
going on,
why
and
do
it's
you
not
like
just
it?
personal
Why do
taste,
you
it's
like
Oh, I'm
based
not.
on,
I'm
yeah.
not
You
necessarily
didn't say
saying I
that.
like it. I did not say that. I just
Okay.
said adventure. I maybe think differently.
Love adventure. I have one adventure in there.
No,
No, I'm
somewhere,
saying that to
but-
me, it doesn't scream strictly outdoor rec for adventure, and maybe that's only for me. But like for me, if I'm going to a new city, I'm like, I'm out having an adventure today. That means
Right.
I'm exploring.
Well, I've
It
seen-
doesn't
that's
mean
what-
outside per se. It means I'm
Right.
going out and doing stuff.
I've seen Adventure
Well,
Awaits as
the
a
word
slogan
trio-
for a city,
Yeah.
and that makes sense.
The
or-
trio
yeah,
definitely.
Trio makes it small to me. It's like, oh, all you got is three things.
I mean, it
You know,
should be something more like all the experiences, all the things.
Experience the magic. Why is
Just for
Ludlow
reference, here's our-
so prominent with what?
I mean, we just saw that in the web stats.
I
That's
get
why.
that.
Because
Yeah,
it is
there's-
our-
the
it is our
National
most
Parks did
visited
it,
page.
And there's a documentary that just came out last year on it. And also people do that historical travel, right? They want to go visit sites, right? It's the same for like the Sitting Bull site, and like that's the top thing that people look for. And that's I think that's a demographic thing. I think that's going to change because I don't think younger people
Oh,
care
that's
as much
interesting.
about
No.
history.
This is our existing
Ooh,
live
connected
website. This is our
histories.
current site.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Your perfect Trinidad day.
Yeah, I mean, again, we got to talk about who's our,
Have you been to the
who
Ludlow?
Yeah.
our current
I wasn't
visitors, who's that we
impressed
want
with
to.
it.
No, I mean, I think it's just really a
Ludlow.
touchstone. I mean, I think there are
What we
people who
want
are
to
ticket
promote. I
punchers,
understand that
right?
people
They're
are
like, I'm
interested
gonna
in it
visit
now.
all the historical
And other
sites
people
here.
hit it,
It's like
but
the
that may be
highway.
all they know.
Yes,
Right.
I just want
Maybe
to
our
see and know and to
target
hear, but yeah, I
audience
mean,
is
it's not, I
people who
was
want to
underwhelmed for
visit
sure when I
like,
got there, but I was also like, okay, this is a very
union
important
strife,
part
you know,
of
or
our state
labor
history.
mishaps,
It's
or,
good to
you
know
know,
about.
unless it's the Battle of Bighorn, right? You know, or Gettysburg. You know, it seems to me that violence isn't necessarily what we want to sell ourselves as. If we're trying to distance ourselves from the idea this is an area of crime and
Right,
gangs,
Well-
and whatnot. And they're not
A
exactly the
reframing
same.
would be, and I talk
Yeah,
about this
yeah.
with people often, is that there's an incredible radical history here. And so, I mean, attracting well-heeled liberals from Denver.
Mother Jones.
Mother Jones, yes, there you go.
Yeah.
You want to talk about Emma Goldman? Now that's a draw, right?
Yeah,
You
but
know?
that all is part
Yeah.
of Ludlow, and that's part of that story.
So
So,
we're leading with Ludlow there, which is
Right.
outside of our town where people were massacred, as opposed to Mother Jones came to town and she had this amazing following and the national media descended upon it, right?
Yeah.
And who's our other big guy is Bat Masterson, again, crime. Who's our other guy? Al Capone, who may or not ever been here.
Right.
This is who we talk about, right? Yeah,
Wyatt Earp was even here, but
yeah. And that, I know, bigger
Yeah.
discussion in the weeds,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
if we want to lead with something,
It's
should
just
we
the
not lead?
history, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
should we lead with something that's exciting and interesting?
As
Yeah.
opposed to time.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what-
people
I don't
are-
think we have to
Like
lead
that.
with it. I
yeah,
think it needs to be.
we
there
mowed,
because the
yeah,
SEO
yeah.
is so-
Bad guys, goons came and mowed down a bunch of people, and destroyed, 27 families' lives or whatever. Anyway,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
As it, and I don't think any place, I mean, what do I know about Columbine? Unfortunately, that's all I know about Columbine. What immediately comes to mind, right? And I lived in Waco for 10 years, and all anybody had to say about Waco was David Koresh, right? Until Chip and Joanna came, and I cannot tell you how many Wacoans and Chamber of Commerce types and City Council types said, "Thank God,
Yeah.
we have something else to put us on the map that displaces that," right? Fort Hood, I lived there when there was a shooting there, and that's what people knew about Fort Hood. Yeah, that was 2009, and so I think yes, there's a way to talk about the rich history of the area without identifying yourself with a massacre, right?
So yeah, this obviously is going to be a process that they've already been working on.
It definitely sounds like the face-to-face with DIQ needs to be like its own, maybe like 2.5 hour work session
Yeah,
with them.
Yeah, Flint, Michigan. What do I know about Flint,
yeah.
Michigan? You know, that's not what anyone in Flint wants me to know about them.
Oh, yeah, all the bad
I don't want to
things.
get stuck in the middle of, the transition. Do you, just for time's sake, so you're not waiting another week, do you want to reach out to Brian and ask him about September, or do you want me to pass this on to Victor?
I can keep taking point on it. We'll obviously bring Victor in.
Yeah.
So his first day is next
Tuesday the 12th.
All right. And
So if you just reach out to Brian and ask if that date works best, and maybe like block off 2.5 hours, we just make that a work session. Once Victor joins in, we can copy me, and then I'll just forward it to him so that way he knows.
yeah, that sounds good. Is that going to work for everybody else? So I had thrown out our first meeting in September, which is the 2nd, and maybe we want to start at 8 instead then, if it's going to be a couple hours.
Yeah, and how long do these meetings normally run?
As I said, we usually run long.
Yeah.
We've historically
no,
run
are they-
like 2 hours, at least
Are
90
they
minutes.
scheduled, so I block out 2 hours every time?
They are scheduled.
Yeah.
They're scheduled for the first and third
Right.
Tuesday of every month, yeah.
Since we
Right.
are,
I was talking about duration of the meeting, sorry.
Yeah.
2 hours, yeah.
Yeah.
since we are meeting twice a month, I'd love to see us get this down to a nice trim hour meeting, where we're in and out, staying on business, etc.
Yeah.
So I think we can get there. For right now, probably more like 90 minutes to a couple hours as we're all getting settled in,
I'm not even official, so.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of questions, a lot of discussion going on,
Yeah.
which is all good.
What are you talking about going into September? What are you?
To bring DIQ
To bring
and have
DIQ.
a special session. So,
Might be that we can have another discussion here before we bring this.
well, we have another meeting.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
and we're gonna bring them down and put them up in a hotel, right?
Well,
Are they coming from Salida?
Well,
yeah, they'll come. I don't know if
I think they should put themselves up in a hotel.
Yes, yes.
I've never asked us yet. I mean, I'm sure we're paying for it somewhere.
It's also, I think he, not from the tender, his email kind of understands that,
We need-
we're going to be looking really closely at this with all the changes at the city and from the board. So
Just want to make sure those numbers go up, if he can bring the staff, and certainly if they're paying for it.
Get more room.
I got you. I got to see where you're
For 5 days.
All right.
Yes. Let's really immerse them.
Yes, yes.
The
Snake eating its own
experience.
tail. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, but it keeps going, man, it keeps going.
Yeah. So would you guys be okay with an 8 o'clock meeting on
Yes.
September 2nd then?
And Chris, to your question, you guys do have
September
another
5th.
meeting in between.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, so our next meeting, which we'll discuss momentarily
Yeah.
here, is going to be on the 19th, so 2 weeks from today. That's a normal board
And
meeting.
Tara and Victor will be here.
For our next meeting.
Here on out.
Yeah, at 8 o'clock on September, that's September.
Yes, correct.
Well, why 8?
Because it's going to be a longer meeting with DIQ. We're going to need the extra time.
Okay, I'm fine with that. I mean, I'm up anyway, but just why we didn't put it the other way.
Because I have to work on Mondays and Tuesdays.
See how you.
Same, yes.
At my job that I actually get a paycheck for,
Same,
which is
yes.
not my business.
Exactly, same.
So yeah, I'm just trying not to cut into my
Understand.
time at the park there.
So our agenda will be to onboard Victor, I suppose, with the.
Yeah, so before we get there, does anybody have any miscellaneous items of business for the board?
Miscellaneous from the board.
I'm not on the board, but I'd just like to share things that maybe you guys would want to discuss as far as like tourism moving forward. We have a very, very busy fall here in this building. We have the RAD coming up. We've got the Trans-America Motorcycle Club race coming through, and they're staying a night. That's about, I don't know how many vintage motorcycles, at least 100.
That's cool.
That's really cool, and so they'll be in this space in September. We've got the Creators Crawl in early October, which is kind of running parallel with the Fancy Spider Music Festival, so it's the art component of the Fancy Spider. So we do have a Fancy Spider Music Festival, so that is a 3-day event here. And then we have already started planning the Colorado Creative Industries State Conference in June of 2026. And so that should bring over 300 heads and beds for those 3 days. So
Do we have 300 beds?
yes, we do.
What is our capacity? I don't know.
We have, well, that's a whole other conversation.
No, I mean, is it 500? Is it 1,000?
Oh, I'm sure we have more than that because we've got at least, we've got the Days Inn, we've got the La Quinta, we've got the Best Western, we've got the Hilton, we've got tons of.
Yeah, but I agree, we
hotels.
should know what that number is.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, and knowing what our occupancy rate would be
Right,
great
and
too.
so like
yeah.
for Fancy Spider Music Festival, which I'm assuming is gonna bring in quite a few tourists, hundreds.
Yes.
They have 5 venues across downtown that they're using. I know CCI Conference is gonna have at least 4 venues around town that we're using, as well as the trolley and visitors van, so.
We should get some kind of bump off the caveman thing too.
Yes, Caveman. So
That's
I just
coming
wanted to put
Right,
that,
it's August,
plant
right?
those
The
seeds.
Caveman Festival.
It's August, right?
End of August, it's Labor Day weekend.
Labor Day weekend.
I got you. Thank you.
So I just wanted to plant those seeds
Which
while you
also-
guys work with.
Hasn't been shared on social media
Nope.
at all.
No, they have shared it on their own.
And,
Yes, I've
and
seen it
this-
on their
I mean,
own,
the
yes.
city
Yeah.
owns that property, so like, it does come back. We don't get lodging revenue from it, but we do have a contract with the vendor.
Yeah, basic
so-
percentage.
Can you just rattle those off one more time?
Sure, it's the RAD,
Yeah.
the Trans-American Motorcycle.
Do you have dates for all?
I do.
Maybe you could email him that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
just want to get it in the notes.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, so, yeah, or
You
even
should
just-
know the RAD.
I know the rest.
Yes, I can email you guys all of those dates.
Excellent, thank you so much.
Oh, and we've got the 100-year anniversary of the college this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. It's this weekend. Yeah.
It is this weekend.
Yeah, I'm participating. I should remember.
Me too, I'm working it.
I don't have any other miscellaneous. The one thing I was just thinking about, let's talk about all this, is you mentioned city met with hospitality stakeholders. We should be doing that pretty regularly also. One thing we had started under the previous board that kind of fell by the wayside was stakeholder meetings. So potential of at least one totally public meeting that's open to anybody. And the regularity of these we can decide, but basically an opportunity for the public to come and yell at us, because that's what they're going to do. And
Isn't
then-
that happening to you guys on the street already? I've had people stop me on the street and be like, I really need to tell you what I think we should be doing with tourism.
Yeah, I mean, I hear it for sure. And then, yeah, so hospitality stakeholder, maybe a business stakeholder meeting. So whether we just invite them for a period of our standing meeting or have a special session or whatever, and how frequently we want to do that is fine. But just getting input from those folks.
Another thing we started to do, didn't get a chance to, was, and we haven't discussed really, the allocation of funds to events, that apply for, assistance. We had developed a form to try to make that more fair.
Yeah,
I
so that
guess.
is a major component of what this board ends up doing. I mean, as we're allocating funds, but there are a lot of different parties that would like a piece of the lodging fund, and so we have to decide in as unbiased and fair manner as we can, who gets allocated monies.
Back end too, right?
Yeah.
What's that?
The back end too. After the final report.
Oh, sure, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's actually something we haven't seen much of. It's technically required.
Yes.
And it very rarely hits the board's desk where it's like, here's the report. I don't know if that's getting lost in this shuffle with the
I missed
city.
it, sorry.
Well, that's what we want to hear from.
We're talking about a
the
raise
Santa
for
Fe
you.
Trail.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think, though, back to your question or your comment about the process of, I think that really does depend on the editing or the changing of the ordinance and the way things are allocated right now. I think that maybe there might be a change in that.
Well, we would probably be allowed to just spend more on events. So this has kind of been like the arts and culture bucket, and then maybe occasionally recreation is where that money's come from. So we've had to be a little tighter on a lot of that funding. But we need to use our discretion no matter what. And so what Chris was mentioning was previous board member Amanda Korth had put together a scoring rubric that you could kind of run through, award a certain number of points for each question, and then take the conglomerate of everybody to kind of reach a consensus. And then that was then correlated with a certain dollar amount. So basically, like if you received X points, maybe you get $5,000. If you received more points, you could get $7,500 or $10,000 was, I think, our cap for any event. So
At least it attempts to keep it unbiased. So it's because that's one of the problems the old tourism board had was the board was accused of, well, that's your pet project. You give them more money, you do all this. And it kind of started with the city committee too, because they were.
And I also think moving forward, it probably will need to account for more heads in bed, so versus the local events. So
Well,
I think it's going to need
that
to
should
be
be
revamped any which way.
just part of the scoring rubric, yeah.
Yeah.
That's hard to do. You've got to have a nice.
Oh, none of
mix
this
that.
is easy and clear and
Yeah.
simple, right?
You've got to have a nice mix of that because, honestly, if you're making the locals feel like they get a good quality of life, it's going to
Yeah,
spread.
locals
They're
have to
going to
help
be
buy.
asking their
Right.
friends and neighbors.
That also means
Yeah.
that stuff's going on when you show up in town. So like farmers market, primarily for locals, but if you happen to be here on a Saturday,
That's what I
Yeah.
hit that up
Well, you
for
would not
tenants.
believe how many people
Same.
from out of town. I ask everybody that comes to my booth where they're from. I said, you from here? And I would say probably 60% are not from here.
yeah, or Main Street Live even, I mean, primarily a draw for locals,
Yep.
but visitors, if you're like, what should I do tonight? You know, somebody might say, go check out the
Exactly.
play. So anyway, yeah, that is something, it comes up a lot. We receive lots of funding requests, and so just that process.
And what is that process? Is it quarterly? Is it haphazardly? Like, what is,
Well,
we don't have it right now.
Right, we need
I think
to
it needs to
determine.
be redone.
Okay, so next agenda, we're meeting in 2 weeks, that's the 19th.
Did we,
Back
everybody,
here at 9
did all the board members get their miscellaneous?
Yeah, or is there any other miscellaneous business?
I just wanted to, real quick, and I talked about radio already, I just want to tell you what we were doing. I did maintain the radio and updating copy and stuff during the interim when the board had crashed and burned. Going in through the spring, basically talking about all the attractions, museums, and things we have around, highlighting when there was a big event, when we hit Santa Fe Trail Days. I did change the copy, and we're pushing that right now. The ad is pushing outdoor recreation, our 2 state parks, how lucky we are, blah blah, and all of that. It's and we run more spots. What I did when, just because of my experience and stuff, instead of just letting them run spots wherever they want to, we've designated them to basically Thursday, Friday, Saturday to catch the tourists, and when most of the events are happening. And then there are heavier months, like in January and February, it's lower level, lower number of spots, and that builds into the spring to, basically take advantage of that timing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But I continue to keep going, and I will continue to get more input into it as we.
That's radio, right? That's radio.
Right.
Yeah, we're not doing any TV,
No,
and we're not doing print other than these tourist magazines.
very
right?
limited prints. In general, the previous board's strategy was pretty much all in on digital,
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
which is something I would continue to make a case for. I have seen, and Kyle, you may be more tuned in than I am, especially at this point. There's been some resurgence on traditional media in the last couple of years, so that's something we can certainly look at.
Yeah, because it hung in there. It was supposed to die 10 years ago. And look,
But
it's
I
still
mostly
here.
question with like a limited budget that stuff gets spendy really
Yeah.
fast, and then it's hard to
But
track
see,
the
that's why
metrics.
I'm not big on advertising. I think Facebook advertising is useless. I'm not big on spending dollars there. I'm big on getting bodies in your area and having, don't pay to put an ad in a newspaper. Get the newspaper writer who writes about that thing. Get Charlie Meyer to come fish here, right? Get people who do the things to come do them and write about them.
That's important, but
Exponentially.
you can't rely on that alone, because
No, but it should be a piece.
you gotta have a mix.
course.
I was,
So one of our discussion items, would be what our media mix is
Yeah.
and how and that would be derived from our strategy, right?
Yeah.
Because then you know
And I
who
wanna
you're,
look
who
at
you're
the
reaching.
advertising
Because I don't
How
know,
does that convert
is that
to-
Albuquerque magazine a good investment or not? My sense is it may be, if people are looking for day trips, and the people who tend to read those magazines have
Yeah.
income to spend.
That's like their 5280 equivalent in Albuquerque,
Yes,
if you're familiar with that
exactly.
magazine.
No.
Yeah.
5280 is it's kind of a hoity-toity Denver mag.
Okay.
No, I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm saying that's the demographic. It's,
No, it doesn't-
it's a
Right,
little
so
more
you-
upscale.
You see your Fendi and your David Yurman ad, and then there's Trinidad. Yeah, right, okay.
Well, AAA should be writing about us. We're such we're a road trip place, right? Nobody's flying into here to stay. People are driving.
AARP, RV magazine.
So, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So is that the type of thing you guys want to be spending the next meeting on? Starting to discuss strategy, demographics, what is our board vision for that?
So that way you can prepare for.
Yeah, so that way we
Yes.
come to DIQ and
Agreed.
say,
And
here's
also,
where we're
is
at.
there- Is there,
And they're supposed to be our partners in helping us do that. We just
They
need to
have
try to-
plenty of, we have discussed that with them. So the Albuquerque thing, that's not a shot in the dark. That's based on traffic we've seen on the website, et cetera. So
I'm
yeah.
going to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah,
That
totally.
is our audience.
But yeah, when you drive into the actual metrics, it's kind of what I mentioned at the top of the meeting. You've got front range, in-state visitors. You've got Amarillans mostly, but Texas, pretty much across the board.
yeah,
And then,
all
and New
small
Mexico.
towns
And New
around
Mexico.
Dallas, and it's-
does
Love Dalhart.
DIQ send out press releases on the events? that
Text
we
line?
have?
No.
No.
They don't. See, that's, cowboys and Indians should be writing about our arts here, right? The Mitchell and
Well, the railroad museum too.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
railroad publications. Yeah, I have nothing to say about that.
And so some of this, and this will, obviously this will kind of evolve
those
as we
DIQ
start
guys
sitting down with
are
DIQ. But it may or may not be all for them. So one thing we had talked about previously as a board, and we did make some initial stabs at this, was things like attracting small-scale conferences. So we were looking at the Western Writers of America, and I think Ashley, the previous chair, had maybe reached out to them and didn't hear anything. But the things you guys are saying right now reminds me of that. So identifying, who would be prime for Trinidad to reach out to and just get on their radar, whether it's for an event like a conference or just to get mentions on whatever they're putting up there.
I feel it's it's not a niche, it's niches, right? 'Cause we're not Denver.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nor do we want to be.
No.
And that's a good thing.
Yeah. Oh, not disagreeing. Or Austin. Just pick a place that's huge and already has the built-in everybody from everywhere kind of thing.
And everybody's angry.
Well, there's that too. Although I've seen some angry people.
Yeah, there are some angry people. Well, if you just avoid the chatter, you won't know who's
Right.
angry here, really, if you just avoid that Facebook page.
So here's what I'm putting down. Identifying our target markets, demographics, and just tourism marketing focus for really at this point for 2026. Our PR strategy. We've already talked about social media strategy. So what do we want to see there versus what's already out there? The biggest thing for me on social is right now it seems like her MO is kind of really strictly her lens also an interest, but it's very much like maybe authentic would be the nice way to describe it, where it's if you were just out there filming as a random person, and so it's do we like that, or do we want more glam, like very
Or not
polished.
storytelling. People respond to stories, right? People want other people.
So,
I think it
Wanna
would
know
be
what
good
they're
also
doing.
to discuss how frequent you guys want your face-to-face with them, like when, how and what and when, and how, where, like the platform of this interaction between you two.
There's
Yeah,
story
yeah.
even, I know the Texas Tourism runs a lot of TV ads in Discovery and those different places, but their ads tell a story. A particular family that they did this, and that's your Texas, and those are really well done, but it's telling a story.
They've got a new campaign. I don't know if you've seen it. This is how you Texas,
Yeah.
Yes.
which highlights different areas of the state and stuff that you can do.
It has a great energy.
It does. It really does.
Really good job.
Yeah, it reminded me of the early "Don't Mess with Texas." They kind of played that out, but early on was like, "This is really cool."
Yeah.
Yeah, you got a famous person saying, "Don't throw your trash away," Yeah, and I was like, "Oh, that's neat." Yeah,
Don't mess with Texas.
yeah, that was a great campaign.
Long lived.
Yes, yep. Don't mess with Trinidad. Don't trifle with Trinidad. There we go. Now we got the alliteration.
Right?
Yeah.
well, we'll see how deep we want to dive into this because a lot of that discussion could take a while too.
Sure.
Yeah. One of the other main things I'm putting on here is city staff versus board involvement. So since we hopefully will have our new fella and Tara here for the next meeting, who's handling what and when. So things like social media approvals, right? Like, does that all come through the board? Is Victor going to just do that? All right. So yeah, right now agenda, identifying target markets and tourism marketing focus, moving forward, PR strategy, social media strategy, campaign strategy. So how many campaigns and how often are they changed, like over the course of a year? And then DIQ management, how frequent are we talking? What platforms are we using to work with them? And then city staff versus board involvement. Anything else for next agenda?
It feels pretty full.
It's very full.
Yeah.
Honestly, we may or may not get through all of it, but
Right.
that's okay. Because some of this will be talking to the firm as well.
And a question, y'all were talking about a possible fifth person. Is there somebody applying, or?
Well, there was, but she wanted
She
to
hasn't
for a
lived here
year.
for a year, so.
I'm actually not sure,
But
though.
she has a home.
She has a residence and has for a while. So
Oh, okay. Well, maybe that qualifies.
just hasn't been living here full time. So
I don't know what the
Yeah.
rules are on that.
Just, I would go for it, anyway, and apply and give them and nothing else,
Yes, what happens?
get her, we just need to get me full, the functioning as a full staff board. A lot of things for us to do, we need all the people. He doesn't have anything to do most of the time.
No one has it.
yeah, right. Okay, well then I guess I will take a motion to adjourn.
Second.
No, someone has to make it. I can't make the motion.
Oh, I thought you said, sorry.
No, I will take one.
Oh, yes, motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Joe.
You're welcome.
Look at that, 2 hours on the dot.